There's a scripture that says, when I became a man, I gave up childish things. An addiction that I had had for years and years, God took it out of my life. I had no more desire to use the drug. I tried counselors, I tried everything under the sun to try to quit. Go to jail, spend some time in jail, come out right back to it. Nothing in my life had ever caused me to just put it down. We got kicked out of the nest and we dove into WSA, not knowing what was going to happen. See what me and Mama and baby boy could do. I mean, we didn't have much money. We borrowed a little bit from Mom, a little bit from Uncle, from a friend of ours, just to kind of put some money together to start this thing. Craigslist was huge back then and not nearly as dangerous as it is now. I hit 3. He said, if you could just make it to 5, then you've arrived. Now we're looking back and it's like, man, we're already at 10 years. It just seems like yesterday,
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Be Frank Podcast, episode 27. Today we have a special guest, Travis Landsaw. He owns a cell phone repair store in a Midwest city, Norman, and Oklahoma City, called Wireless Solution Accessories, aka WSA. And then he's been our great client for us for over the years. And then he started his business about 10 years ago. 2013 of the April, and then today is April of 2023, and then he's celebrating 10 years of his business. And then he has a lot of life journey, and then somebody I look up to and then I'm get inspired from. So I would like to learn more stuff. And then we're a Be Frank podcast. We are committed to provide you guys a podcast to learn and then to inspire and be happy. So welcome back to the show, and then welcome to the show, Travis.
Thanks for having me, Yosuke.
Thank you so much for coming. And then, so the question is, I would like to ask is that kind of introduce yourself, like if you're writing a bio for your website, what would you say in your bio?
Grew up in Del City, Oklahoma. Had 2 amazing parents, 2 amazing brothers. Didn't necessarily think they were that amazing as we were growing up. Three boys living in the same house. We butted heads a lot, but had just an amazing family growing up. Taught me great values. How to live and how to be successful in life, hard work and all that different stuff. But as a lot of teenagers do, when I got into my teen years in high school, began to just do what I wanted to do and think that I was big enough to make my own mind up. It led me to the use of drugs and alcohol, which really for the next 10, 12 years of my life, that became my life. Instead of going to school, I went to college on a scholarship and met people there that were of like mind and doing the things that I was doing, and forgot all about school and just kind of took my life down the road of drugs and alcohol, and was using what I could, and eventually turned into selling so that I could support my habit and think I was a big bad drug dealer out there on the streets, And for the next 10 years of my life till I was 27, that was my life, I had a son when I was 16. Got the young lady pregnant at 16. At 17, I had a son. So you can kind of tell the kind of life that he had growing up. It wasn't the best, because Dad was not a good father. I was too young to realize what I had and the opportunity I had in that little boy. And for the next 10 years of his life, he saw Dad running and gunning and doing stupid stuff in the streets. In 2004, got a knock on my door. And it was the DEA, the ATF, all those alphabet cops. They were knocking on the door and had a little piece of paper and said, "Hey, you got to come with us for a little while." That kind of led me down a road of figuring out who I was, what I was going to do with my life, or what I wanted to do with my life. I thought it was a wake-up call to say, "Travis, it's time for you to stop being stupid. It's time for you to stop being a child." There's a scripture that says, when I became a man, I gave up childish things. Yeah. And that was like a wake up to me, hey, there's no getting out of this one. You're not going to get bond. You're not going to get to, a slap on the wrist, because I'd had plenty of those up to that point. It was time for me to have to go serve some time and pay my debt to society for my stupid choices. I did 6 years in Beaumont, Texas, in the federal prison down there. Spent some time down there, and before I left, I had gone to a rehab on the east side of Oklahoma City, where I met a gentleman by the name of Sonny John. He was a Nigerian man. He came into the rehab on a Sunday afternoon, and he kind of talked to the group, and it just hit me, man, because he told me that I didn't have to live the way I used to live. I didn't have to keep going down that road. He told me about just a life that didn't involve drugs and alcohol. And he came from a local church and invited me to church. And it was kind of my opportunity before I went away and did my time to realize what was important in my life, To that point, it was all about me. It was just, what did I want to do? How did I want to live my life? What kind of things did I want to fill my life with? And it was stuff that just tore me down, broke me up, made me into a bad person. So before I got to go off to my voluntary gated community in Southeast Texas, I went to that little church, and things began to change for me, God got a hold of me and said, Travis, it's time to wake up. Had a little experience at that church that was an eye-opening, life-changing, life-altering experience that said, hey, there's something better in this world for you. Go serve your time, come back, and let's give it another shot. If I hadn't met that man before I left, I don't know where I would be today, because that was a pivotal moment where I was searching, I was hurting, I was broke. I didn't know which direction to go. And, I feel like God put him in my path for a reason at that moment so that he can help,
What was so special about him? I'm pretty sure, I don't know, your parents or like your friends or whatever probably say the same thing, right? It's going to be better life out there, whatever. But I think it's kind of to find it interesting to me that is I had so many situations like that. But somebody was articulated very well to me and I understand. So this changed my life and that person, right? Your person, that Nigerian guy you're talking about is change. You said you don't know where you're gonna be, so it was special. What was the key or what was the special about him?
Well, looking back now and my belief system and seeing how things go, I really believe God put him in my path for a reason at that moment. And if you ever met Sonny, he has a smile that goes ear to ear. I had the best parents in the world. Mom and Dad was amazing. They did everything they could. But just like any parent, you can do all you can do. And then we grow up and we make our own choices. But he had something that I wanted. I could tell from the moment he talked to. Well, he was talking to me. There was 40 of us in that room, but he was talking to me that day.
Yeah.
And I sat in that room and I listened, and it was a room full of guys. And us guys, we got to act like we're tough sometimes, so we just hold it in. But the whole time I felt like something was, that this man's talking to me.
Yeah.
I followed him out to that parking lot that day, and my words to him I had tears running down my face, and I said, Sonny, whatever it is you got, I want it, because I've never met anybody like you. That's kind of how God is with people, man. When he changes somebody, and not to mention the fact that he came from a life of alcohol. He grew up in alcohol, and that was his life. So we had similar experiences, and he came into that point in his life. So I think that connection there was big, but there was just something different. If Sonny smiles, he lights the room up. And when I went to the church that he came from, I'm telling you, there was a bunch of Sonnies there. It was just everybody was smiles. Everybody was happy. They were a little bit on the crazy side, I thought at first, because I come from this world and this is this world. And I'm like, the first time I went there, I said, I got to get out of here because these people are a little bit nuts. I don't know that I can handle this.
Right.
But they all stopped me, man. They all said, hey, Travis, who are you? Or you don't want to know who I was. Even after they heard, isWCA, that I was on my way to federal prison, that I was a drug addict and I was selling drugs, they didn't treat me any differently. And that told me there was something different about these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell when people are just doing what they're doing just to fulfill some time. And then you can tell when people are doing what they're doing because they genuinely love and believe what they're doing. You know
Makes
what I mean?
sense, yeah.
So when I met him and then I met this, and then the experience I had, man, it's just, there's nothing that compares to that. it took an addiction that I had had for years and years, and then, you know, God took it out of my life. I had no more desire to use the drugs. I had no more desire to go down that road. I tried counselors. I tried everything under the sun to try to quit. You know what I mean? Go to jail, spend some time in jail, come out right back to it. Go to counselors, didn't work. Be forced to take UAs. Did it for a little while, right back to it. Nothing in my life had ever caused me to just put it down and turn my world around. You know what I mean? So that was a long way of telling you why there was something different, but it was a big cumulative thing. It was a lot of things that caused that to happen.
Yeah. And then after prison, how did you become to open the business, I guess?
So after prison, they send you to a halfway house for a little while.
What's that?
It's right over here on downtown Oklahoma City. I think it's on 3rd Street. It's called Oklahoma Halfway House. And basically you transition. I did a program while I was there. It was a 9-month drug program that got you a year off of your sentence. And as long as you fulfilled the requirements there, you got an early release of a year. But they send you and you have to do 6 months in this halfway house. And basically it's a place where people come from all over the country, and they send them there. And it's a transitional period where you have to get a job, you got to start working. If you start working, do what you're supposed to, they'll send you on home confinement. And then you basically earn your trust back a little bit at a time. Excuse me. And when I went there, I just went to applying jobs everywhere. Nobody wants to hire a felon, I mean, you tell them where you just come from. It was funny. We'd have to do some job interviews, and on the application, you'd always fill out, what was your jobs? So I had a 6-year period where there was, there's no jobs, no job history. But I put my jobs while I was in. I was a GED instructor while I was in there. So I taught math and I taught all this stuff. So when I'd go in for my interview, I'd put GED instructor, because I knew if I could just get in front of somebody and try to sell myself and say, hey, I'll do the best I can. I need a shot.
Right.
So people would always wonder, why in the world are you applying? You've been a GED instructor. Well, then I get the opportunity to explain to them. After about 40 different places, a place called Butler at the time they were in Edmond. He's over on 23rd and MacArthur now. They're a cell phone wholesale company. I didn't know anything about cell phones. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a cell phone wholesale. I definitely didn't know they did use cell phones. So I walked in one day, and the guy that runs the place, his name's Tom Pace, another guy that played a huge part in my life. He hired a lot of ex-felons. He hired people straight out of jail, people that were in AA, NA, different stuff like that. He loved giving people an opportunity. So it was him that said, hey, we're going to give you a shot. Went into that company, started on the phones. It was kind of a call center type deal. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I was miserable at first because I thought, I did enough call centers when I was young. I did not want to do this. But I did that for about 30 days. Had a young lady that was the manager that had actually come through the Oklahoma Halfway House, so she understood I needed to get full-time employment. I needed to get something established so that I could go on home confinement. Yeah. So she put me on full-time, worked a few more weeks. A guy in the shipping department said, hey, Travis, I've been watching you. I think you could be all right. Come do some shipping. So I was off the phones. I was boxing phones. And for the next 3 years, I just worked my way through the company. Did the shipping, did the auditing department, managed the auditing department. Then I went to sales. And in that 3.5, 4 years, I just learned everything about the business, about cell phones, about this kind of stuff. Had a company come in and say, hey, Travis, we'd like to start something similar, out in Edmond. Would you come out and help us kind of work with our inventory management, get rid of some of this older stuff we got, and let's kind of start to establish something. My wife, whom I met while I was at Pace Butler, met her, and in 2010, her and I got married. Excuse me. And at this point, she had worked for Pace too for a while. She had just gone home to work from home. Gotcha. We had a little one. We had Mason, our first, and she had started working from home. And I went to this company because it was a big pay jump, and she was going to be able to be a stay-at-home mom. So we went out there to this company to help them get established. she quit, her other job, so that she could be a full-time mom and start, teaching the little one.
Yeah.
And that just didn't work out, Yosuke, man. It was like, a month and a half, 2 months into it, I got nothing. She's not working. I got no job now. It just didn't work out. And we just thought, what are we going to do?
You had not, so...
Yeah,
they fire you or something?
Huh? It was a bad deal.
Oh, okay.
Just the whole operation was a bad deal.
Oh, gotcha.
There was lots of stuff going on there behind the scenes.
So that new Edmond location was a bad deal.
Yeah, it just ended up being a bad deal.
Right.
And we had to part ways and go our own way. So it was at that point, she's unemployed, I'm unemployed. What do we do here? I've always been the one, you don't leave one job without having something ready to go.
Right.
So it's do I go back and say, hey Tom, man, I need a job back. So I just went to talking to people that I cared about, people that were mentors to me, people that I trusted with my future. People that I looked to for direction in a lot of different areas in my life. Something I learned at Pace. You can't be an island all to yourself. You got to have what you call a board of directors, or what I would call my advisors. You know what I mean? They don't necessarily know they're my board of directors, but that's who I go to, for all direction in my life. Yeah. I just began talking to him, what do I do?
Yeah.
I talked to Sonny, talked to my pastor at the church, just different people that I really cared about.
Yeah.
And it just came down to the fact that it's time to give it a shot. Let's see what we can do. So we just jumped off in there. We had luckily prepared and kind of had money set back so we could live for a little while we opened the business. And we got kicked out of the nest and we dove into WSA, not knowing what was going to happen, what tomorrow held. And we just kind of jumped into it full boat and see what me and Mama and baby boy could do. So.
Yeah. So that was 2013.
2013.
Is that same location or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We walked in there with some borrowed paint. We borrowed some paint from Sonny. He had some in his garage. My goodness, that's about it. We went to GameStop and bought some old cabinets that they had. I mean, we didn't have much money. We borrowed a little bit from Mom, a little bit from Uncle, a little bit from a friend of ours, just to kind of put some money together to start this thing. That's kind of how it was, man. It's
how much was it?
$10,000 from each. So we had $30,000 when we started the business.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was we got our inventory. We got what few things that we needed. We basically didn't do anything fancy with the place. We put a banner up top and a few old used cabinets and a few phones on the shelves and some accessories on the wall, and we just dove into it to see what we could do. So yeah.
So what did you say to your like people who gave you a $10,000, right? Like, hey, I'll pay you back, or what was the conversation? Yeah, it was a deal where they all kind of knew, and they were all kind of part of the people that we talked to anyway. They were people that had really encouraged us and felt like this was the opportunity, and just said, hey, I want to borrow, we need to borrow some money and see what we can do, and we'll get you paid back as quick as possible. I think all three of them gave it to us thinking there's a good chance this isn't going to work out and we may never see our money again. But yeah, that was it. We had borrowed that money from each of them, and one of them, my wife's uncle, who's in Washington, he he's been in business, done a lot of different stuff. We were trying to create business plans. I didn't know nothing about this stuff, man. I'm just I read a book. Tom said, read this book. It was E-Myth Revisited. And it just taught me that, hey, just because you know about this doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful in business. You got to be able to manage. You got to be able to, do all this other stuff too. So that's all I really knew at that point. Yeah. So it was just jump in this thing. Let's see what we can do and take what what the people that believed in us. I don't say, they believed in us when we really wasn't sure what we were going to do with the deal. Did you pay back and so?
Oh yeah, they were all paid back within a year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was amazing because I never, it was a priority. We got to get this done.
Yeah.
but it was just how we felt like God was just blessing our business. It wasn't a deal where within a couple months we're able to start, paying ourselves some money. And it was like, wow, this is really cool how this is just advancing so quickly. Now, were we making tons of money? No, but we were able to live, we were able to survive, we were able to continue to do that. And then we had so many people supporting us at church and different stuff that would bring us food and bring us all this crazy stuff, so that we, it was just kind of a community that would come together and help us out.
Right.
And in the meantime, the business started coming. Midwest City was just, everybody said, why are you going to Midwest City? Why are you opening up over there? And I just felt like that was the right place for us to be. And looking back at it, I really think it was the right place at the right time, and that community's just been amazing to us. So,
that is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I was curious, whenever you were saying, try to help out on the Edmond location or whatever for your new guy before you started business, it went off, and your wife having a baby, and then you didn't have a job and all that stuff. Is there, because of starting new business is so out there, right? And then because you could go to different type of cell phone repair or a cell phone store, but also, I mean, it crossed my mind you could go back to what you were doing before.
Oh yeah.
So what was your thought process of starting business instead of all that stuff? Is that came to your mind, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was we had a friend, or a guy that was actually a customer of mine when I worked at Pace, and he always encouraged me and said, "Hey Travis, you really could do this," and he was in business for a long time, so he always kind of encouraged it. But I was real comfortable in where I was at.
Yeah.
And the thought of going back and safety and security and having a paycheck and doing what I know I could do well was definitely a thought. I had 2 conversations within about 20 minutes apart. And this may sound crazy to some people, but it's just how I think things work sometimes.
Yeah.
I talked to my board of directors, right?
Yeah.
The people that I seek counsel from. And
you talk to them individually.
Individually.
Right?
Oh,
okay,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then you don't have people here.
It was, at the time, my pastor now, his dad was the pastor of the church. So I had a conversation with him upstairs.
Yeah.
And just kind of had a little conversation, said, hey, this is kind of what we've been thinking about. We've been praying about doing this. Is this the right direction? This is what we want to do. And just talk to him about it, how everything happened. And he told me he had a picture on the wall. He said, you see that picture? He said, that little baby bird, Mama, at one point, Mama's going to have to kick that little baby bird out of the nest, and it's going to have to learn how to fly.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And I said, okay. I said, I we left after the meeting. I went, 15 minutes down the road to Arby's, where his son was. And his son was eating with the youth. He was the youth pastor at the time. And walked in the room, and I said, I want to talk to you outside. Just kind of went out and said, hey, this is really kind of what we're thinking about doing. And I'd had conversations a little bit with him before. We walked out on the side of the restaurant, and after talking for a few minutes, he said, Travis, he said, I just think this is just like that mama bird kicking the baby out of the nest. It's time for you to fly.
Huh.
And it was just, some people may think I'm crazy, but that's just that was just kind of confirmation in my mind. Hey, it's time for us to get out of the nest and fly and give it a shot, and if we crash and burn, we crash and burn, but we'll never know if we don't at least try it. So that was kind of the final little, nudge we needed to get kicked out of the nest and try that thing out. So
what was your wife said?
She's an amazing woman, because when the job situation didn't work out in Edmond, I called her right away and said, hey, what are we going to do? And she said, don't worry about it. God's got us. He's going to take care of us. He's going to provide. There's going to be something. Don't worry about it. And through the whole process, she was just so supportive of just doing this, because she felt like this was just the right thing, the right time for us to be able to do that. She worked for Pace for years, and she was in what they called the major account reps, where she was responsible for buying lots and lots and lots of phones. So she knew the industry too. So just through the whole process of us building and doing everything, she was supportive. She was in the middle of it. You know, when we opened the doors, we had Mason in a little crib or a little playpen in the back room, and she's there putting screen protectors. Now it's tempered glass. Back then it was old plastic screen protectors, trying to put them on phones and trying to learn how to do it as we went. So,
so she was helping the
oh yeah,
business and stuff.
Yeah, she was in there. Yeah, I remember our first customer came in wanting a screen protector. Luckily, it was somebody we knew.
Yeah.
It was, I forget what phone it was, but they wanted a screen protector. And after about 4 attempts, she was able to get that thing on there. So we learned together in the process. So.
I mean, I love that. I mean, like, whenever I go to your store, you put, we buy the screen protector, tempered glass, and then you guys put it for us, right? Like, put it for the customer, and then you guys, like, so professional. It's just perfectly place, and I bet it's years of experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're glad it's glass now and not plastic. That plastic was tough.
Yeah, so like whenever you start business and you're making and then like living, and then like, I don't know how much you can share, but like you have a great business, and then like can you kind of walk me through like how you guys are making just enough to live to like making comfortable living to like opening up different stores,
Yeah, it was that first year. It was kind of we really didn't know how it was going to go. Just really made sure we paid ourselves enough to be able to take our responsibilities and do that kind of stuff. It was more of a step out in faith kind of thing, because when I look back on it, I'm thinking we weren't really making much money, but we would pay ourselves something to be able to pay our bills, regardless of whether we thought we had it or not.
Yeah.
And it always worked out.
Yeah.
The funds were always there. We would have to get creative. There was all kinds of different ways back then that we would make money. Craigslist was huge back then, and not nearly as dangerous as it is now. And we would buy all kinds of stuff, buy and flip on there, and that would supplement what we were doing in the store.
So Craigslist is dangerous right now?
Well, I mean, you can, if you're not careful, it can be, I think.
Can you give me like an example?
Well, I have a guy that I know that sells on Craigslist, and he just recently lost an iPhone 12 because he went to a house across town and met some folks out in front of the house, and then they gave him fake money and took off running, and he started chasing them, and that could have been a bad deal, but they just ran off because it wasn't their house, So I mean, I think that's on the low end of things. People get robbed all the time on Craigslist,
Oof.
Whereas back in the day, I mean, we made a lot of money through Craigslist because it was buying stuff, and we had the buyer that was sending the stuff overseas, and we could buy a lot of broken stuff and damaged stuff and still sell it and make money. So it was supplementing our in-store stuff by doing that. So that helped us. We know guys that started their whole business on Craigslist because back then it was a lot safer, a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
But through first couple years, it was just steady little climb. We had one employee that we hired in. We were able to hire that first employee.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we can start doing this.
Yeah.
And he was kind of a repair guy. He would do some of all of the repairs, but he wasn't really a front end guy. So when I would have to go do Craigslist stuff or buy or do different things, he would have to work the front, and that was kind of a little bit much for him. So I lost him, and then I got a repair come walking through the door an hour after he left, and it was like, what do I do here? Oh yeah, we can fix that, no problem. And I take that repair in, and I'm thinking, I don't have a repair guy. What am I going to do here? I want my repair business to go. And I told them come back in 4 hours. 4 hours later, they came back, and I was able to somehow fix that, which allowed me to be able to start realizing, okay, I can fix phones too. So it grew my repair side.
Did you like watch YouTube or something?
I'm not going to tell the viewers how to know. Yeah, I mean, that was how it was. It was, let me pull out this YouTube video, let me watch it.
Yeah.
Those YouTube people are a little sneakier now. They don't necessarily show you everything that you need to know.
Yeah.
But that was how it was, man. I figured that out, and then that kind of built my confidence to where I can do this, and we can start taking more of this stuff in.
Right.
And that grew the company, So from starting out selling a few phones, back then, iPhone 4S, you think, we had flip phones and sliders. That was the stuff back then.
It doesn't slide or whatever.
Yeah, it was crazy how far it's come. But from that to being able to add the repair side and establish that to the wholesale side, to all the different things which caused the business to begin to grow at a greater rate. So, after a couple of years, I hired Jeremy in. And Jeremy's, you know Jeremy. He's been with me coming up on 8 years now.
Damn.
So, in November, it'll be 8 years for him. He's been there forever. And we're going to grow old together, I think. But when he came in, it really kind of, he came in. Darren came in after him. When I got to hire those guys, it opened the door for me to be able to manage and do and sell and different stuff like that. So I think that we began to see a real climb in things because customers would come in and we would have lots more opportunities to spend time with customers and sell and take care of them and fix and do all the different stuff that our customers in Midwest City needed. We were able to offer them everything at the same time and in a timely fashion. And I think it just increased word of mouth, spreading in the community, Craigslist advertising, different stuff like that, just really caused it to in years 3 and 4 to kind of really double and triple. So and then we began to see in probably years 5 and 6, that's when things just kind of we started looking and we're thinking, wow, this is really going to a place I never thought it would go. So
that is awesome. And then so you guys expanded to 2 more locations right about the time we met. Mm-hmm. And then what was the let's expand? Or like I was always curious, do they reach out to you or you reach out to them?
It's really a cool story because these guys these 2 families were people that at the church that I go to. I've known them. I see. So I met them way back, when I started going to church. So we've been going to church for years. But James and Chris were Walmart guys, lifelong Walmart guys, 25, 30 years. I don't know exactly how long.
They were working at the Walmart.
They were either managing stores, districts, the online sales stuff that Walmart does. James really launched that in Oklahoma. If I remember correctly, he was a huge part of their online presence and the pickup and different stuff like that. And things just worked out where, hey, Walmart was doing things, that they said, well, let me just look and see, what we're going to do. James reached out to me first and just wanted to sit down and have lunch about starting a business. There was absolutely no thoughts whatsoever of them opening up a wireless solutions. We actually talked about a donut shop.
Dad Norman?
James. Because when James first started with Walmart, that was one of his things. He was in the bakery and he made donuts there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was one of his I think one of his first jobs at Walmart.
Nice.
And so we talked, and I'm like, well, what kind of business are you thinking about? And he said, well, I'm looking, maybe a donut shop or something like that. I'm thinking, okay, cool. But I'm just telling him how we started, how it worked, all the different stuff. In the process of our conversation, I just kind of, the more I talked about, WSA and how we did it and what we did and what it was, I just think something sparked there. And I didn't know really at the time, Mm-hmm. But a few days later, it was kind of a conversation. Hey, I've talked, he talks to his board of directors too, I say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think? And to me, it was perfect. Because people would give me grief because here we are 8 years into a business that's good, really thriving business. It's by all accounts is just a great business, and people would always tell me, when are you going to open up another one? And I was always hesitant because number one, I didn't want to sacrifice what we had in Midwest City. If I send Jeremy off and then we get something here, and well, is the quality or I got to go run? Is the quality going to always be where it needed to be? Do we have the right pieces on the bus right now to be able to expand? Move them over here and let's do this. And the pieces were never there. So when this happened, it was like, these are people we care about. These are people we trust. These are people that would be amazing, that bring a whole lot more to the table than I ever did when I started my business. And so I thought, I think it's just a perfect little deal here.
Yeah.
Chris, at the same time, neither one of us really knew, but he's kind of thinking, what are we going to do? And then a week or two later, he came and said, hey, let's sit down and talk. So we sat down and talked and kind of had the same little conversation with him as I did with James. And him and Chris I just guess they thought, hey, this would be cool for us to do this. It was just kind of the way God put everything together in this situation. It was a perfect little storm for us to be able to grow, expand our business, that we are proud for what we had built, and expand it with people that are going to take care of it, that are going to treat it like we would treat it, that we can trust with everything that we have. I think that's that was the big deal, was trust. So it was like it just made sense for them to do that.
It's awesome, and then it's been almost 2 years.
2.5, coming up 2.5 for Norman, and just a little over 2 years for North Oklahoma City.
Man, time flies.
Yeah, it's crazy. We were just sitting talking about, hey, what are we going to do with the branding? And then, this is what we're looking at doing. And then they came on, and then now we're sitting here 2 years later. It's crazy to think.
Yeah, then now Norman location might move, and to new locations, and then a lot of things happen, and the COVID stuff happened, and you guys survived and all that stuff. And then what do you think that you wish you knew when you started business?
What do I wish I had knew when I started business? I wish I knew more about on the business side, I wish I knew more about the tax side of things, because at the end of the first year, I thought I had it all figured out, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And that CPA stepped in and has become my best friend over the years. That's on the business side. On the personal side, I think it's just, I wish I had better time management, because I was raising a little guy through it all. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I wish I had known more about how to manage that side of it, because it was crazy. You're working open and close 6 days a week. What are we doing? What are we trying to do? I got a little guy growing up in this place.
Yeah.
So that side of it with Mason is one thing I wish I would have. I wish I would have had a little more knowledge and on that end of it, so that I could maybe have worked things a little differently. So
what is because I have no idea what you do every day, right? Like what? So if people are interested in opening up a cell phone store or whatever, that what is your a day looks like?
On the business side, is that what we're talking, or just talking overall?
Overall, in general, I guess whenever you start a business, and it's just you buy phones, or
It's when we started, it was all, my goodness, I'd be sitting at home at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night trying to figure out, where are we going to get this? How can we do this? Oh, this is online. Well, I can go pick this up tomorrow morning, scheduling stuff. Let's get it in. Let's see when we can move it and sell it. That was the big part of it back then. And then it was, how do I do that during the middle of the day? While I'm at the store trying to take care of customers, trying to fix phones, trying to run and buy this so that I can sell this. And, so that was a huge part of it. Today, it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot more streamlined. It's the same type of stuff. Although now with the 3 stores, it's more sourcing. That's where I spend most of my time, is making sure the stores have what they need. When these guys sell, they can come to the main location and get what they need. It's you start at 6 o'clock in the morning and spend that time with them babies, and have some time with them and have breakfast with them and make sure they're ready. And I love taking my kids to school, so I take them to school and drop them off at school, and then after that it's go by the church. That's where I spend my next bit of time, So I go back in the prayer room and get my mind right and make sure that I'm ready for the day. And then I just dive into it. Maybe go buy a supplier, get some stuff. But then it's just throughout the day, it's working the stores, making sure stuff's where it's at. You know, it becomes the same stuff day after day after day with different product and different ideas, because I'm still trying to shuffle and juggle. But then the time management thing that I talked about earlier, it's now, okay, it's 3 o'clock, I'm going to get my kids.
Yeah.
Whereas it used to be,
Yeah.
Mama, go get the kids. I'm going to be at work till close.
Yeah.
So then it becomes that, so that I can have some time with them and do the things that really matter in life afterwards. So.
Got you. So those people who doesn't know about WSA,
Yeah.
what is WSA?
It's the best cell phone store in Oklahoma City metro area. It's just a family-ran small business that wants to make sure we offer repair services, phones at reasonable prices, the accessories to protect your stuff, service. We offer service for the major carriers: AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. We're authorized prepaid locations for those places. So it's really your one-stop shop for all your wireless needs. You need iPads for school. You need Samsung tablets. We sell those. Really just try to cover everything, every little base that somebody needs. We want people to be able to come in if they have a need for something. We have it, and that's pretty much WSA. It's all about making sure the customers are taken care of and they keep coming back.
Yeah.
They laugh at me, but we had you guys make a while back those little cards, and they were referral cards for our repeat offenders.
Yeah.
So our goal, I think, is to have as many repeat offenders that keep coming back and that we can take care of.
Yeah.
So that's WSA.
What would you say to the people who goes to Verizon or AT&T instead of coming WSA? What would you say? Why is that better?
There's some people that just believe, hey, I got to get a brand new phone.
Yeah.
And I understand that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a young lady that came in the other day that wanted the nicest, newest thing.
Yeah.
Well, I said, I think it's best for you to go to Verizon.
Yeah.
And go get that and finance that phone out so you can have exactly what you want. Because if that's peace of mind for you, go for it. But to me, it's get out of debt, get away from the debt of having a phone. If that's, you don't have to have the nicest, newest thing. We have great phones at great prices. You know what I mean? We offer warranties. We've been in business 10 years. We're not selling junk. So we can save you money. We can get you the service at a cheaper price, save you on some fees. We got all kinds of different ways that we can offer what they offer at a fraction of the cost. Everybody needs what they need to fit their requirements or what they're wanting. But I mean, I think there's a lot of wasted money and a lot of people that are hooked in on, they're indebted to these wireless companies because for the rest of their life, because they always have a phone that they owe on. They always have a phone that they have to pay off before they can get a new one. When you save up a little bit and come spend a little bit of cash and buy one cash on a phone that's going to last you just as long, I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I was like so inspired. I mean, like whenever you came in talking to me for the first time and then you were thinking about rebranding and all that kind of stuff, we went, talk about, I remember that green situation, the color green.
Yeah.
And then like that point, and then you told me about like, how much is your store's revenues are and all that kind of stuff. And then, man, and I went to your store and all that kind of stuff. Man, this is cool, And then I saw like how you were, like a customer coming in, like while we're talking, and then how you were like treating like the customer, and that you care about community, and then like a word of mouth, and then like you are taking care of customer, not like, oh, you're trying to get more from the customer. I see what you're talking to me about, church situation, that if you meet to somebody who actually cares about it, or you're just doing what they're doing. So like I felt that what you're just helping those customers say, then like almost like you're like selling stuff, but like it's kind of like friendly stuff. Yeah. I thought that was like super cool. And then like I always respected that. And then like that, so since April of this year, it's been 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And then how do you feel? And then like how do you feel about coming to 10 years of doing business?
It's crazy because, you know, when we opened up, they said, well, if you can just make it 3 years, and then you can make it 3 years. And then I had this little guy that owned cleaners right down the road from me, Mac Patel. And every time I would go in there, and he'd give me grief. And I hit 3. He said, if you can just make it to 5, then you've arrived. Then you've established yourself. And then we hit 5, and he really hadn't said anything since then. So now we're looking back, and it's like, man, we're already at 10 years. It just seems like yesterday, you know. But then I look at the transition. I look back over photos. I look at the bland walls that we had in the beginning, and then when I look at that crazy green that we had on the walls that I thought was just the greatest thing in the world until I talked to you. I'll never forget that. You know, I was so against changing colors, and now, I mean, you know, I actually had a customer a couple of days ago said, "What happened, man? Did you sell out to a big corporation or something?"
Yeah.
I said, "No, why?" He said, "Well," he said, "it just looks like things have changed around here." I said, "Well, I guess we're just growing up a little bit." So, but yeah, it's amazing to see. So
it's if you grew up and to stop doing child stuff or whatever. Like
yeah,
you say.
Yeah. When I became a man, I gave up childish things. That goofy green.
Yeah, I still remember that conversation, and then I said, "Well, I want to change it," and then you were kind of like upset. And I knew like, well, if I'm going to do this, I say, if I'm going to do green, I don't know if I can do this job or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, then we don't know then. Yeah. You kind of left. I'm like, huh. Then like you gave me a call, and then like your wife would like agree or whatever, you know? Yeah. So I thought that was like, first of all, that was like, I thought like, that's cool, you know, you came back. And also that I was like, yeah, I respect that, you know what I mean? But so from, you know, like when you had a serving time and stuff, did you ever imagine life is going to be like this right now?
No, I had no clue. I mean, because at the end of the day, when people get out of prison, I mean, the recidivism rate is huge. You know, a lot of people don't make it. So I knew getting out, I had a good group of people around me. You know, I did a lot of praying while I was there. God, you know, I'd love to have a beautiful wife and some kids and a little picket fence and all those things, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just kind of how that works. And it just was cool how things began to come together. With meeting my wife, I met her within a couple months, you know, so we had a baby, a little over a year and a half after we got married. And then just seeing how things progressed, I never thought I would be in business. I never thought. That wasn't even on the horizon. You know, I figured I'd get out, find a job that I could work at and you know, make a career. But I see a lot of my old life, you know, the selling drugs on the streets. I mean, not everybody can just go out there and do that kind of thing. But a lot of those traits, a lot of those skills, people skills, communication, selling. You know, it's crazy to say
it's a business,
but it's business.
Yeah,
and that's how we looked at it back then. This is a business.
Yeah.
It translated perfect into running a business, talking to people, communicating, you know, selling, just doing, you know. And like you said earlier, there's not a lot of selling. It's more making sure the customer has what they want, what they need. But yeah, all those skills came into play, you know. So I figured I'd work for Butler forever, and then things happened, and then here we are today. No, never in a million years thought I would be where I'm at right now. Absolutely not. Mm.
You're probably making more money than selling drugs.
Oh yeah, that drug money, easy come, easy go.
Yeah.
Today I got to prepare for my future. I got to, you know, make sure my kids are taken care of. I got to make sure my family's taken care of. You know, my wife and I are a team trying to take care of business, and you know, she's got lots of hats that she wears, and I got mine. So we just gotta do the right thing.
Yeah. I think that's super awesome. So if you say like you struggle with that, like you know, addictions, mm-hmm. and then that stuff, like what would you say to those people who are currently struggling in your position previously, and then maybe they're listening to this podcast for some reason, and then what would you give advice, or what would you say to them? Even, I don't know if the advice is a good word. Is there something you want to share to those people if they are listening?
Absolutely. I mean, first thing I'd say is you don't have to live that way for the rest of your life. You know, some people get so caught up in that life and that world that they think that's all there is, you know, that there's no hope, that they can't find peace. And I promise peace is available. Hope, you know, hope, there's hope for a better tomorrow. That, you know, in the AA and NA world, and that's fine. Everybody finds their way out in different ways. They go into rooms and they say, my name's Travis, I'm an addict. I don't believe that. You know, my name's Travis, I used to be, I'm not anymore. And I think people need to realize that, that there is a way for you to not have to claim that for the rest of your life. Okay? It's kind of there's just a way out of drugs and alcohol. And I found that in God. I found deliverance. I found freedom. I found peace. I found hope. I found joy. I found a better life, man. And that's the answer, you know. Everybody finds it however they find it. But there's only one way, and I tried them all a bunch of times. There's only one way that I was able to get away from that stuff and never have to mess with it for the rest of my life. And I can hold my head high today and say, I don't think about it. I don't have a desire. I don't have those dreams anymore. I don't, you know what I mean? And the Bible said God's no respecter of persons. It doesn't matter where you came from, what you've been through. If he did it for me, he'll do it for somebody else. So I think that's the message that I would send out, that there is a better way. There are places where you can go and you can find freedom from that addiction, because ultimately that's it. You're shackled, you're cuffed. You know, you're locked into that lifestyle and you don't know how to get out. You got to first start by saying, "Hey, I need help," and find a place to get you help. You know, there's a good place on the south side of Oklahoma City. It's called Apostolic Faith Tabernacle. A little plug in there.
Well, thanks for sharing that story. And then, like, I know that it's not. I respect this. Thank you for sharing. And then, like, so you have kids, right? Like Mason, and then he's growing up. Then, like, you're talking about, like, he had he was making a commercial for WSA and stuff, right? And then these kind of like the things you went through. I don't know. He's too young to probably understand, like, what is that something like I was curious, like, just like you will tell your kids?
Well, they know everything about me.
Oh, cool.
I told you the other day, I'm an open book. I got, you know, they need to know why Daddy lives the way he does today, why we live the way we do as a family, that where God brought me from, and, you know, they need to know all that stuff. You know, I have an older son who is 28 now, and I mentioned him earlier. He saw all that, you know, and to this day it's still a struggle for him, you know, because of all the hurt that he went through. Yeah. So he saw it firsthand. You know, with Mason and Emma, I was given another opportunity to parent and do it the right way, you know. So I don't hold anything back. You know, they hear me at the church talking to people. You know, they've gone with me to drug rehabs and to talk to the people in the rehabs, and I've taken them with me. So they've heard it all, you know, all about Daddy's crazy past. Yeah. Because I want them to know that's who I used to be. I'm not that way anymore, but you know what? Life was not always great, and we need to appreciate what we got today and know that, you know, by the grace of God, I'm here today, and we're able to have a family and have a good life.
That is awesome. And then, just like we went to your store today, and then, you know, windows broken, right? And then I thought that was like not like good, but like it's interesting to me that if I understood correctly, there is a guy or girl going to cell phone repair store to break in, steal stuff. Correct?
Yeah, there's a group of them. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 or 4. There's usually 2. But yeah, they're making rounds in Oklahoma City. There's about between 12 and 15 shops that have been broke into in the last month or so. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if there's somebody, hopefully they catches it. I don't know how, because I had a police officer, like a retired police officer on the last episode.
Uh-huh.
I wish that was like the next episode. I'm like, well, how can like police can't help you?
It's crazy. It seems like the cops have not really, we all communicate in the city, a lot of us. So it just seems like there's not a lot of effort on their behalf because, I mean, it seems to me they're hitting every spot in the city, and it's the same MO. It's the same, they're throwing bricks or big old pieces of metal through the window. They're running in, they're grabbing what they can, and they're getting out of there. Luckily, most people lock their stuff up. Most people put their stuff away. So, it's costing us more in repairs than it is anything. And then eventually, when they catch them, it's going to be a big string of them. They're going to get a lot of charges because they're going to add all these stores up together, and they're going to charge them all at once. And instead of just becoming breaking and entering, small theft, it becomes a big deal at that point.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's like more than $1,000 is like a felony or something like that.
yeah. And
So
they've far surpassed that amount. So yeah.
Hopefully, if somebody catches it and then police can help out, and then I don't know, you get back or whatever,
I hope I hope so. I thought it's happened a few times over the years. There's always going to be those bad apples that want to get something for nothing.
Yeah.
And that's just part of it. In running business, you're going to have these kinds of things happen, but hopefully they catch them soon.
Yeah.
They're running out of places to rob. The cops may need to watch Tulsa next. They may move on up the street and rob somewhere else because they've hit just about everybody in the city at this point.
That's crazy. It's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and then
Yes.
I heard somebody got like scammed, and then they took like 20 grand or something like that, and then so it's just phone calls and all that kind of stuff. I think second guessing, and then don't trust people too much of those kind of bank informations and all that kind of stuff. I think that'd be important, and then try to be safe up there. You know what I mean? It's a lot going on.
There's a lot of that stuff we have a good customer that did that, and I don't know if he clicked on a link in a text or what, but they were wiping his investment account out. They were taking 10 here, 10,000 here, 20,000 here. He would fight to get it back. But when we began to investigate his phone, he'd clicked on something or had went to somewhere we shouldn't, and somebody had added a phone onto his account that he didn't know about that was in another country, and there had access. So every time he would change his password, they knew what was going on, and they would have access. So it was crazy. Now we were able to remove that and protect him going forward, but especially the elderly community, they're going after them big time with those calls and stuff like that. So it's
that's
crazy.
why you teach elderly people how to use cell phone too.
Yeah, we're in the process of doing that, trying to. So, yeah.
I think that's cool. You guys doing and helping our community. I mean, that stuff. And then this podcast, I like to ask 2 questions to end the segment. Okay. One is that I think that I'm not expert or anything, but I like to inspire people, giving advice. But I think I'm capable to give advice to myself 5 years ago. So that would be 2017. What were you doing 2018? So what were you doing in 2018, and then what advice would you give yourself 5 years ago?
Oh wow. What advice would I give myself 5 years ago?
So I guess just right around, you say 3 years, 5 years mark, you kind of made it as a company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to that, Travis, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh man. I would tell myself, keep doing what you're doing, because there's big things around the corner. I mean, it's that's kind of goofy and cliche, I guess, but I look back and there's not a lot of things that I don't have any regrets. I don't have any, things like that. I would tell myself that, hey, it's all going to come together soon. Just keep doing what you're doing.
That's awesome. I think that I think it's interesting to me a lot of that people that like like they have the idea of themselves and they are who they are or whatever, but that everything can turn around and do whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody loves like underdog stories and overcoming stuff. I think I always cheer for underdog.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way.
Yeah, and then so I think that's pretty cool. But what about, how do you see yourself in 5 years?
Probably pulling my hair out because my son will have a license at that point. In 5 years, I'd love to see WSA double in 5 years. I mean, I think we have the people, the pieces to the puzzle. It's just getting those other two stores past that 3-year hump, and then they'll be at that 5-year hump. And then I think in 5 years we can see WSA double, and us getting into more communities and growing growing that side of the business, having more people come in that can join the family, and we had a conversation the other day with a guy about coming in and stepping into that type of a role to be able to do that. So I think in 5 years we could easily be to that place. Yeah.
Like 6 locations?
Yeah, I think we could.
That'd be cool.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think the move in Norman is going to be good for them. Not that the first place was bad, but it's just, I think the move where they're moving, it reminds me a lot of kind of where we were when we started, and the type of location and where it's at, the little spot that they're at. So it just kind of got some little nostalgia there. I'm watching that, and I think that's going to be good for them.
Yeah.
And I think all the pieces of the puzzle are there. It's just got to come to fruition. So.
Yeah, to execute and
Yep.
to follow what you gotta do, right? And
That's
then,
right.
Yeah. Then, what do you have? How can people find you? I mean, like, I'm the marketing company, so
Right.
I should say it, but like,
You know better than I do.
I'll put it on the link below, but yeah,
Right.
I think that people wanted to hear from you, and then like maybe you can talk about upcoming events going on, and then where people can find you and the location and whatnot.
Yeah, you just got to get on Google. Yosuke's got us taken care of there. WSA Oklahoma City, WSA Norman, WSA Midwest City, or Wireless Solutions in each of those cities. I mean, you can find us on Google. We got our Facebook, Your WSA, and then we got our, of course, our Instagram. But those are the main places. YourWSA.com is our website. I mean, you can do online shopping if you can't make it into the store. If you want to just buy some stuff there, we ship it out. That's going to be the easiest way. Upcoming, of course, it's our 10-year anniversary. We're psyched about that because it's a big deal. I'm looking at it and thinking, this is really cool where we're at. And so we're going to have, this is our Customer Appreciation Month. Midwest City has been unbelievably amazing to us. For 10 years they've supported us. People thought, why ain't you moving? No, that's our people in Midwest City, man. That's our type of people, just normal folks, regular, everyday people, and we want to just show them appreciation this month. So we got some sales that our marketing team is getting out there right now. But the weekend of the 21st and 22nd, we're going to have huge sales. Just big Black Friday type sales. So all kinds of crazy deals. So if, people need to come out and get some stuff for the kids for going back to school, because that's right. We're getting out and they're gonna have to go back. So there's lots of opportunities for them to come out and spend some money. But this month is really about the 22nd, Saturday the 22nd. I'm getting the grill out. We're gonna barbecue, burgers, hot dogs. We're gonna have drinks and chips and just stuff for the community. We really, our goal for that weekend is just, we're having sales. But what it's about is, let's get the community out. Let's feed them. Let's give them some stuff. We're going to have some giveaways. We're going to have some drawings, have some different stuff like that. But we want the community out and to come out and eat with us. Have some good fellowship, hang out, let me shake their hand and thank them for everything they've done for me and my family, and just to show the appreciation to that city that has just been so good to us. So
that is awesome. And then, yeah, don't forget free food, guys.
free food, free. Everybody likes free stuff, man.
Yeah.
Free.
Well, thanks for coming, and then I'm just gonna close it out. And then thank you everybody for watching this. And if you guys are watching YouTube, please give us a like, and then maybe put the comment of what you learned about from this episode and what you liked about from this episode. If you guys are listening to Spotify or iTunes or any podcast streaming platform, and then give us a 5-star review. I'm not sure what it does to my podcast, but I'm pretty sure it helps. So thank you guys for watching, and then see you guys next Friday. Peace.
Cool, man. Cool.